Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, your number one source for income-oriented investing. And I hope this video doesn't trigger anyone today, but I gotta do it. I think it's important. Today's video, I'm gonna talk about why I personally will never ever invest in fixed income, aka bonds, ever again in my life. I know, never say never, but I'm never gonna invest in fixed income ever again. And why fixed income is absolutely destroying and killing your returns. This is important because there's a lot of trends in investing, right? Diversification, the 60-40 split, right? 60% stocks, 40% fixed income. And I'm going to show you the proof now of why fixed income, in my opinion, is completely unnecessary. It's hurting your returns as a long-term investor, and you really don't need it. And I'm going to show you some numbers. Also, don't forget, guys, I've spoken to over 1,000 people. I do, one-on-one coaching sessions, and everyone who's invested in has done very poorly, especially recently, but even over time. So what is fixed income? Bonds, right? These are debt instruments, right? You're basically lending someone money for a fixed amount of interest. That's why it's called fixed income. In the fixed income universe, of course, there's many types of bonds and fixed income, right? There's government bonds, municipal bonds, provincial and federal government bonds, but there's also just like the chart shows here, there's preferred shares, there's investment grade or quality corporate bonds, high yield corporate bonds, sometimes referred to as junk bonds. There's medium term bonds, short term, long term, senior loans, US tips, you name it. There's many different types of bonds, but and also, by the way, there's even covered call ETFs that focus on bonds. You guys know that I used to own HPYT, the Harvest Premium Yield Treasury ETF, which is long-term US government bonds with covered calls. I sold it off and I no longer have any fixed income in my portfolio. So this also includes fixed income with covered calls, because remember, guys, when you're investing in something with covered calls, the performance is always going to be associated with the underlying asset, right? In this case, HPYT, H bond, you have bond from Evolve. They're all really investing in mostly long-term US government bonds, aka TLT, right? So in this video, I want to actually share with you data, because this is not a matter of opinion that fixed income is killing your returns as a long-term investor. It's not a matter of opinion, it's a matter of fact. So let's check out some graphs here. Here you have a picture that I took from a presentation from Brompton, which is really cool. This is the last 10 years, as of September 30th, 2024, last 10 years. You could actually see the fixed income. All the fixed income stuff is circled in gray. You could see the total return. Very low compared to equities or the S&P 500. So here you have the S&P 500. You even have gold, which has been in the last 10 years actually doing better than fixed income. But you also have developed market stocks. So this would be like Europe, Canada, etc. Emerging market stocks in last place. And then you have, of course, you have US stocks, US equities at the top here, the best return. But here's fixed income. You could see how low it is and how crappy the returns are. We're talking about even some less than 0% in the last 10 years. And none of them are actually going past 6%. So you're talking about 2-3% average return in the last 10 years. And you might be wondering, well, Adrian, this is just the last 10 years. Oh yeah, how about since 1802? 1802, here's the difference between stocks, bonds, gold, and the dollar. And I'm assuming, guys, this is worldwide stocks. I don't know if it's the S&P 500 or just stocks all over the world. Let's just say it's stocks all over the world. But either way, you could clearly see a giant discrepancy between the performance and how bonds has performed pretty crappy versus stocks. And this is just until 2021, by the way. If we would go until now, bonds are much crappier, I'm sure, and stocks are much higher, because in the last couple of years it's even been more pronounced. Right here you even have one of Michael Saylor's presentations that he used just to show how in the last 4 years, I believe this is, how toxic bonds are. Fixed income is really, obviously he's going to compare it to Bitcoin, the Magnificent Seven, the S&P 500, real estate, gold, but you could see bonds just in last place, an absolute disaster. So if we look if we take a look at some very, very popular bond ETFs now, everyone. Before we continue, I'd like to thank Moomoo Canada for sponsoring this video. Moomoo Canada is a newer do-it-yourself investment broker available to Canadians. And not only are they very, very competitive with their trading costs, their commissions, and their US exchange rates, I know many of you are investors on my audience, not really traders, but they also have a killer welcome offer that I would like to show you here. So if you open a new account, whether it's a TFSA, RSP, non-registered, whatever, look at these deposit bonuses here. If you deposit $100, you get a $50 cash coupon, which is kind of like free money, right? It's a cash coupon that you could buy more stock with, for example. Think of it like a stock market gift card. Deposit $2,000. You get 150, and look at this, $5,300 cash coupon, right? That's absolutely incredible. Not only that, but for the first 60 days, if you just have cash sitting in your account, it will gain 6% interest up to $10,000. And also for the first 60 days, no commissions, no trading costs, up to $2,000 of credit for that. So basically you have no trading costs, up to $2,000 for the first 60 days. So they even have transfer bonuses as well if you're transferring from another broker. And not only that, they were kind enough to throw in an extra bonus just for my audience, a $30 Amazon gift card with a minimum. You get that if you deposit $1,000 or more and hold it for 60 days. So an absolute killer deal. I highly recommend you try it out just to get these bonuses here, especially that $5,000. You get a nice $300 cash coupon plus the $30 Amazon gift card. And just make sure you use my code, which is in the video description below. You got to use my affiliate link. You got to make sure you see the PIIX Moomoo here before you open your account. I really went over the top or most popular bond type ETF. So on the Canadian market and on the US market, let's just take a look. Again, facts, not opinion. Let's look at ZAG, which I believe is by far BMO's, which is a big, ETF provider. This ETF has almost $10 billion, which is incredible. And whenever you see the word aggregate bond, it kind of means a mix of bonds, typically aggregate. So it's kind of like diversification within the bond market or fixed income market. Let's take a look at how this fund has done in the last 10 years. Absolutely disgusting. Last 10 years, on average, the average annual return is 1.85%. 3 years, it's been negative. We know that in the last 3-4 years, just like the last chart we showed, right? Negative. This is negative. 1 year, 4% since inception. Well, we don't really care about because we don't know when this fund started. But the 10-year, 5-year is really, really indicative how bonds have been doing in the last 10 years, which is absolutely horrible. And why not stop there? That's just ZAG. I actually just opened up the 5 or 6 most popular fixed income BMO fixed income ETFs. Here's another one, ZFL long federal bond. So this is going to be Canadian government long bond, so kind of like a Canadian version of TLT. Also a lot of money in here, almost $4 billion. How's the performance on that? Last 10 years in the negative. Unbelievable. 5 years in the negative, 3 years in the negative, 1 year -2. Just an absolute disaster. Here's another popular one, ZMMK, the BMO Money Market Fund ETF, another type of fixed income or bond type ETF. I think this one's a little bit better. Last 3 years, 3.9 per year in the last 3 years. We don't have 5 or 10 because it hasn't been out that long. Let's keep going. ZST, BMO Ultra Short-Term Bond, 2.17 in the last 10 years. Hopefully it's big enough. Let's keep going. ZCS, BMO Short Corporate Bond Index. This is corporate bonds, which are typically the fixed income or bond class that perform the best. 2.59% average return in the last 10 years. Horrible. Midterm US corporate bond. So I'm assuming this is going to be Canadian corporate bond. This one here. This is going to be US corporate bond. So I'm assuming a little bit better. And yeah, I'm right. 4.74% average in the last 10 years. So this is on the Canadian listings. What about US listing? Let's do it. AGG, which would be the equivalent to, I guess, ZAG, right? Aggregate, another massive, massive, giant, popular fixed income bond ETF. How's the performance in the last 10 years? 1.31% average annual return. What about IEF, which is medium-term US government bonds? Nothing in the last 10 years. TLT, big, popular, very, very famous. A lot of those covered call ETFs are based on TLT or writing calls on TLT. How's that performance in the last 10 years? Negative. It's horrible. What about LQD, investment grade corporate bonds? So corporate quality companies, corporate bonds, a little bit better, 2.28. What about HYG, high yield corporate bonds or junk bonds, which is considered the riskiest, I think, in fixed income? It's actually been doing the best, I think, at 4% average annual return in the last 10 years. I even found PFF for preferred shares if you want to see preferred shares as well. I'm just trying to gather as much fixed income data as I can. 3.47. So the numbers don't lie, everyone. Fixed income has performed horribly in the last 10 years. And just like this chart shows here, not that great also in the last 200 plus years. Okay. So I also have performance of asset allocation ETFs in order. So you remember the 60-40, very, very popular. You got to hold 60% in stocks or equities, 40% in fixed income. What an absolutely nonsense trend. Here are very popular asset allocation ETFs. Here you have Zcon, which is 40% stocks or equities, 60% fixed income. ZBAL is that 60-40. ZGRO is 80% equity, 80% equity, 20% fixed income. And then you have XEQT, which is 100% stocks all over the world. And you could see that the more bonds you have, the more fixed income exposure you have, the less performance you have, then the less fixed income you have, your performance is going up. This is in the last the average return in the last 5 years. So I hope you're kind of seeing my point here. If we look at just equities, you could see the big difference in discrepancy in how stocks and equities, just like the chart showed, is completely destroying fixed income. So here you have the overall Canadian market, last 10 years, 5 years of return, a lot higher than fixed income. You even have VDY, which is only the dividend stocks in Canada. You could see that it's actually doing a little bit better than the overall Canadian market. This is an exception for Canada because the top performing Canadian stocks are actually dividend stocks. The US, it's not the same. The dividend stocks are underperforming the S&P 500 or the overall US market. So you see last 10 years, average performance of the S&P 500, over 15%. Now that's a great return. And if we compare it to an ETF that only has dividend stocks, VGG, 13%, a little bit lower. But you could see how US equities clearly outperforms Canadian equities here. So guys, that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. Here is the S&P 500 returns in the last 40 years. So this is why, everyone, I will no longer ever invest in fixed income as a long-term investor. I don't see the point. I can't understand any arguments of having a 60-40 and 80-20. Why not just go 100% stocks? And of course, the argument you always get from financial advisors and everyone to put a little bit fixed income is lower the volatility, to be okay during market crashes, to have a smoother ride. But the risk of having such crappy returns, it's so much higher. You got to be able to stomach a little bit of volatility. And come on, everyone, the S&P 500 is diversified. If you're going into an amusement park, and which is called the stock market, the S&P 500 ride is literally the most boring ride. It's like the teacups where the parents go with the kids and goes round and round. The S&P 500 or the overall diversified market in the US, for example, even Canada, it's not that volatile, everyone. You could actually see the proof here. The S&P 500 every single year in the last 40 years. So of course you're going to get some negative years, like the internet crash was minus 9.1. Ooh. Minus 11.9 in 2001, minus 22% in 2002. So it's actually in the last 40 years, the only time where it's been more than 1 year in a row of negative returns, but it's not even that bad. And all you had to do is do nothing and wait, and you would have been fine, as we well know. 2008 was the biggest drop in the biggest 1 year drop in the last 40 years, minus 37%. But guess what? That's unrealized unless you panic sold. You can't just wait 1 year and do nothing for 1 year. I mean, you should be able to stomach the volatility. It's kids play. Minus 4.4 in 2018. 2022 was pretty ugly, minus 18.1. A lot of you have been through it just like I have. What's the big deal? Right? You do nothing for a year, don't do anything. And if you really want to do a great thing, you buy more. My point is, I don't get the argument that you need to have fixed income for stability. Just be diversified and hold equities long term, and you'll be okay. You have a bad year, a really negative year, that's fine. You should be able to stomach it, no problem. It's very easy to do so. Do nothing. It's the easiest thing to do. So you really should be okay, in my personal opinion, even if you're more of a conservative investor, just to go 100% equities. Trust me, guys, I've spoken to over 1,000 people. Everyone who had 60-40 or had mutual funds or a financial advisor where they said, you know, I want a medium risk, or even worse, low risk, which means you probably have 60% in fixed income. It's been an absolute disaster for them in the last 10 years, just disgusting returns, not even beating inflation. So, and you know, fixed income has a lot of risk as well. It has risk to do with the government or whatever person you're lending money to. It has a lot of interest rate risk. So I don't get the whole premise behind fixed income, adding it or needing it. I personally think it's a complete waste of time. You might as well go all equities, go with something very boring and safe like an index fund, an S&P 500, or even a dividend ETF that only has, like we saw, right, the dividend stocks. This is why I actually showed VDY and VGG. These are even less volatile or even more boring in the end than the S&P 500 because it only has dividend stocks, which tend to be even less volatile, more stable. They're profitable companies. They have dividends, right? They've been around. So you could even get a really, really, really good return just with lower volatile stocks, even if you don't want an index fund, for example. And then there's even the whole world XEQT, which has much lower, you have the whole world. So even that has, I guess, lower risk than the S&P 500, and you have a return of over 11% in the last 5 years. So this is why, everyone, I will never, ever invest in fixed income again. My parents are in the 60s. My grandparents are in their late 80s, 90s. They're 100% in equities. And this is the great thing about covered call ETFs, right? You don't have a lot of the same problems that an index fund investor has. If you're drawing down, even if you're in retirement, you still have that monthly cash flow. So if there is a 30% drop, well, you're still getting your monthly dividend. You're okay. So I would strongly ask yourself, do you really need fixed income, everyone? Do you really need it? Think about it, and maybe, hopefully, you make decisions that could better help your returns in the future, which in my opinion is you might as well ask yourself, whatever I'm investing in, $1 million question, does it beat, or can it beat, or will it beat the S&P 500? A lot of the times the answer is no, and staying invested in the S&P 500 is really not that much of a volatile ride. So give me a thumbs up on this video if you agree with me, if you like this video, if you found it informative. Do you disagree with me? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you agree with me, disagree? And if you disagree, why? Do you have any arguments whatsoever of holding this toxic asset, bonds, fixed income? Why? Please explain. And thanks for watching, and see you next time.